Monday night best ball, but it's 3 in the afternoon on the East Coast, but it's got to be 8 or 9 o'clock somewhere. So myself, Erik Beimfohr, we are going to jump in one of these 3 max drafts over on DraftKings. We'll talk about the structure, the advancements, the payouts, and why you should be hopping into these ones while you still can. So I want you to know, Erik, that I specifically picked out my pink shirt and my pink hat because I was like, there's no way Erik Beimfohr shows up to this show with a pink shirt and we can't wear the same thing 3 times in a row. So this was all strategic. Just so
I think that gets your account banned from YouTube if you have 2 people and you show up matching 3 times in a row, as you mentioned. No, just I did act. It probably sounds like bullshit, but so my wife is out of town for the next couple of days, and I'm also falling a smidge under the weather. I think it's mostly allergies, but I haven't done laundry probably like I should have, and so I just grabbed a shirt before we started going live. I showered and everything, and it is a DraftKings from a 2021 baseball live final. So we're repping DK since we're doing the draft here, and it was totally unplanned, but I think that's a sign we're not matching. I happened to stumble across a DraftKings shirt. I think we're in the midst of some, I don't want anyone to ever get hurt or anything like that. Obviously, all those qualifiers. But so far, the training camp news outside of like Kadarius Toney has been pretty good for both you and I. And I think the Spike League family, if you're in the Discord, we've seen lots of, maybe some CLV victory lapping or just some news victory lapping. But it's been going really well. And I think I'm pretty excited to fire off, in particular, a tournament like this where I think we can kind of really extrapolate our edge in these, where I don't think people necessarily treat like single entry and 3 entry max tournaments maybe the way they should in best ball specifically.
So just to piggyback off that camp stuff, like a little peek behind the curtains, I had Jesse sending me a short because we post shorts almost every day on the YouTube channel. And he had literally just sent it to me. It's about the Colts running back situation. And within 2 minutes of sending it to me, Zach Moss broke his arm. And I was like, dude, I'm sorry, but now you have to go add a line about this to the short and like repurpose it because there was like a vague line of like all three running backs are getting buzz. Well, now they're not all getting buzz because one of them broke his fucking arm.
He's technically getting buzz, but his arm's in 2 pieces.
It's just like, Jesus, man, like you can't even keep up with it sometimes. You're trying to put stuff out. And unfortunately, and then we saw the Tim Patrick, it looks like an Achilles tear. Just real crazy stuff. So camp is always wild. It feels like it's way more like last year. It felt tame, with a few sprinkles here and there. This year,
just like last year was just like a little hype, right? Like you would get a here and there. This guy is, best shape of his life, or look at this awesome catch. Or it was mostly like Tua Ducks, right? That's all I really remember from the offseason was all of the Tua can't even throw to Tyreek and Waddle, right? Blah blah blah. But actually did Sirius XM, if you have a Sirius subscription, Roto Grinders, we have a show every Saturday and Sunday, and I do a bunch of those. So last night I was talking to Christy Metzger on our Roto Grinder Sirius show, and it was actually like 90% best ball and fantasy football talk, because what the hell else do you talk about at Sunday night at this time of year? Like there's literally nothing else going on at that time for DFS. But I think it's like we just have so much access now, right? Every beat writer on the planet is taking videos of any rep, right, in practice, and they're posting them to Twitter, or they're posting their analysis of how practice is going. Half the freaking teams in the league, we know completion percentages of the quarterbacks. We know targets that these guys are getting. Like, I think it's Jordan Renan or it's one of the Giants beat reporters posts the targets that every single guy gets with Daniel Jones. And so you can go out there and see, spoiler, it's Darren Waller that's dominating them. But like we have so much access now to what's happening in camp that like, dude, even when we first started in this it feels like I would sound like such a boomer, like back in my day, like that's what the old people say.
4 weeks ago.
Yeah, I feel like last year, like you said, 2 years ago, like when we started Spike Week a couple of years ago, it was like we had some access. We were just coming off the pandemic, so it's a little bit different, but like we had some access, but like we didn't know like what every one of these players ate for breakfast. And now it's like we know fucking everything. Dude, Kadarius Toney got hurt, and we knew minutes Travis Kelce is telling us minutes later like what the deal is. We know so much, and we get so many highlights and everything today, just top of mind. We're getting a bunch of Desmond Ridder sucks clips and stuff on
yes
it. Hey, I do think Desmond Ridder sucks, to be clear. But it was funny on a tweet that I saw that was basically dunking on Desmond Ridder, saying, every clip is Kyle Pitts is wide open and Desmond Ridder's missing him. Somebody posted a clip in the replies to that was like, well, actually, here's a clip of him dropping a fucking dime to Matt Collins or whatever. And it's like, we only see the things that get out there, right? And certain things catch fire and certain things don't. It's like the Tua last year. That caught fire, Tua throwing ducks and underthrowing Tyreek and all that kind of stuff. But it didn't matter, and we didn't see everything. And so it's just this time of year that's absolutely crazy, and it's important to make sure you're like it's fun. Like I'm having fun following the news and stuff, but I'm also really not altering my draft strategy much, other than a couple things, which we'll probably get into today, where like we know like some pecking order things, right? Like you can learn about the Colts backfield right now. You can learn about some of that stuff and who's maybe going to get some touches versus like, dude, I don't care that like Demarcus Robinson is getting hype from Sean McVay. Like who gives a shit? I don't care about Matt Collins talking about how he doesn't use utensils to eat, right? And only men eat with their bare hands or whatever. Like all that stuff is fun, but it's just important to make sure we're not like overreacting to anything going on in camp, because we're getting it's like reality TV, dude. It's like the real world. You can see everything that's happening in all these houses.
Yeah. And also to go on top of that, just not looking for stuff that only confirms your priors, right? Which is what a lot of people do. And if Desmond Ridder sucking is your prior, you're going to seek out the Desmond Ridder can't throw the ball 5 yards downfield, and you're going to miss all the other stuff. So that's the stuff and we're all guilty of it. We will all be guilty of it. Trust me, if I see a James Conner can't run anymore clip, I'm going to be victory lapping around the street, right? And then there could be 3 clips of him scoring amazing touchdowns, but that one showing that he can't run is going to be the one that I'm going to, be victory lapping for the rest of the season. So I think we should start talking about this contest we're going to enter. We're going to enter this $9 3 max, and we're going to get into the payment structure in a second here. I do want to bring up the advancement rates and stuff on it first, where we look and we see that it's a little bit different than their other stuff. It is a 12-player field, as always. The top 2 advanced in round 1. But then it's 12 and 12 again, with only the top player advancing. So this is a tough one to get through in this single entry. But the cherry on top is that if you do get to round 4, it is only a 30-player final. So if you're in that final, you only have to beat 29 other people, which is something that I do like. So I'm going to find the payouts.
Go back to contest details.
Is it on that?
Payouts are in there. You just got to click under prize payouts. See the round 1, go to round 4. Yep, there you go.
Yeah, so first place, this is a $9 entry, and this is why I like their single entry. It is $20K for first, basically $15,000 for second,
Isn't
Third
it
is
funny? There's
$12K.
$50 on the end of there. Isn't
Yeah,
that?
what was that?
I always love, these are obviously like automated. Like somebody puts in they have probably like presets or whatever that you put something in. Every once in a while you get that. It's like, yeah, third place got an extra $17 added to the end of it. Like what the wow? How the fuck does that even happen? It's all round numbers. Literally everything is an even number. It should add out. But anyway, I thought it was funny.
No, it is. It's adorable, to be honest. So third is 12K, fourth 10K, fifth 8K, all the way down to 26th to 30th is $500. You make this final, you're gonna make close. You're almost a lock to make $1,000. You're gonna make $500, no matter what, in those last like 5 spots. But the payout structure is so flat, and that's why I like these 3 max tournaments that they're doing. And there's different price points on these. There's the $9 one, there's $100 one, and I think there's even like a $4 one, or the $4 one might be the single entry or something.
And they'll probably come out with more too.
Yeah, they'll probably be releasing a little bit more, which just like, I don't want to bash it because it is what it is, but it just makes, what the hell happened with the $555 entry payout structure on that? But these I think are the best tournaments in best ball. These 3 max, personally, I love the payout structure. It is a little tougher to get through, but if you do get through, your shot at 20K is like, it's 1 in 30. Like if you can get through these 3 max, and you're only playing against people that can only fire 3 bullets each as well. So it's not people firing 150 bullets. It costs you $27 to max this tournament if you wanted to max this tournament, right? Like, this is the stuff that I love. What are your thoughts on some of these 3 max tournaments offered over here?
Could not possibly agree more. Talking about confirming our priors and our biases and stuff. I did make the final in one. I think they ran several of these $9. They were really popular last year. A lot of their single entry, 3 entry max stuff was really popular, both this year and last year. And I made the final and got like 10th or something. You would have been proud. It was a Mahomes Kelsey team, Chiefs stacked. Of course, my only team that did well in week 17 did well. I think I got 10th or something like that. So it wasn't anything special, but did okay. But the structure, as you mentioned, like I love it. Having options that are flat payout structures is nice because, quite frankly, we don't have that really anywhere. As you mentioned, the milli is nice, but that's also like a different beast, right? The $10 milli maker on DraftKings.
Yep.
We're talking about a million teams that you're playing against. That's a whole different beast. This one is not small, but not massive, and really flat. As you said, 10% to first place. If you make it to the final, you did really good on your $9, like really fucking good on your $9 investment. And if you just don't get, like you said, if you just don't get at the bottom, you more than 100x your money.
Yeah.
Like just don't finish like third to last or whatever it was in week 17. And that's awesome. What I also really love is we'll get to the 3 entry max part of it that you said, but I kind of like the not easy advancement structure, but a small final. Right. So 2 out of 12 is normal. DraftKings, I think every tournament is always 2 out of 12 advance out of your original league. But then 1 out of 12 is hard, man. Like it's not that much more. It's not that much easier than what Best Ball Mania is, which is 1 out of 16, 1 out of 16.
Excuse me for a minute.
Go ahead. And that Rob's hat's broken. It's a good thing we didn't wear the same stuff, because I don't know what this would say about us if we were wearing the same hat and Rob's broke during the middle of a stream. But I love it's me personally. I understand other people might want to advance a smidge easier in those weeks 16, weeks 15 and 16. But I really like that it's a bit tougher, especially in 3 entry max or single entry, to get through. But then once you get to the final, it's like, holy shit, that was a big achievement. And you have as Rob said, a 1 in 30 shot at $20,000 for just $9. And if you get there, right, it's kind of like the argument that people will use to more sweet. It looks like why they added regular season prizes onto some stuff on Underdog and like Best Ball Mania was you get the complaint of, I drafted an awesome team. and like I got knocked out in the first round of the playoffs, right? Which is like, spoiler alert, that happens. I hate that argument because that happens in your home league too. That happens in every form of fantasy football. Like, do your home leagues do like cumulative scoring for 17 weeks? No, they do
No.
you wins, losses, and you go to the playoffs, right? You could go undefeated in the regular season in every fantasy league you've ever played in and lose in the playoffs. That's also real sports. Like, I'm not saying we have to emulate the actual NFL with our fantasy football, but like the complaint of, oh shucks, I drafted Josh Jacobs, and Jamar Chase and stuff, and I only made $10. Like, welcome to fucking fantasy football. Like, I hate that argument, but it does kind of fill this in this. You have a tough route to get to week 17, but once you get there, you are rewarded in these tournaments. 100x your money on a very small amount, right? Like you said, $27. Let's say you spend $27, you get one team to the final, and you probably got 1,000. Turn that $27 into 1,000 with a very real possibility of making 20 grand, right? And it's like the only way you can achieve that is the structure that they put together here. And so I really love it. Everything about this tournament is one of my favorites that exist in all of best ball. Oh God, we're in here. Silas is in with us. Shout out Silas, and he gets the 101. Felix is in here with the 102. We got definitely
109 for us.
109 for us, the worst fucking spot, and we have all the people who we don't want to draft against in the room with us.
Yeah, of course. I mean, that's the way it goes. What I will say about these 3-max and some of their single entry contests is, if you heard me talking 3 or 4 months ago when I was trying to figure out what I was going to draft, what contest selection I was going to do, at the time I was looking at maxing the $10 milli on DK and not maxing Best Ball Mania over on Underdog. I was probably going to do like 100 entries there. But because of the contest that DraftKings has released with these 3-max and at the different price points, like the $100 3-max contest, yep. I want to hit all 3 of my entries on those, right? So I want to hit all the $9 ones. I want the $250 single entry. So I'm starting to pull back a bit on maxing that $10 one. And let's be honest, I have a little bit of additional funds now to fund some best ball drafts.
I would
so say, yeah. I'm not, it's not changing what I'm doing a ton. It's changing a few things, but I'm making sure that now I max enter Best Ball Mania, do a couple of their higher stakes things, but making sure that on DK, I'm hitting all the 3-max and all the single max that I want to do. And if I don't max the $10, so be it, type of deal.
I also think there's such a big advantage for people like you and me, of course, but everybody that's here watching and everybody that's here in the chat, everybody that's in the Discord, all that kind of stuff, specifically in these kind of unique offerings that DraftKings has. So on Underdog, we sometimes get, we have, what were they, like 20 max, not poodle, but I don't know. I can't, Chihuahua or whatever fucking dog breed, right? Yeah, that one of the tournaments was. So we got all the Pomeranians and poodles and all that kind of stuff. I can't keep it straight anymore. But they fill so quickly. When Underdog drops a low dollar tournament, right? Anything under $10, all the people flood and just hammer it really quickly. On DraftKings, they last a little bit longer, and it's a little bit of a different different group of opponents that you're playing against. So if you're willing to do some of the things that we will do, go a little bit outside of ADP, you're not getting crazy. I always try to make sure to reiterate that. No one's saying take Drake London in the first round, but like creating unique combinations, creating low owned stacks and all that kind of stuff is like really powerful, especially then when you think about the advancement structure that we talked about here. Like, it's hard to get there. So you do need a little bit of like leverage and those kinds of things. And the easiest way to do it is if everybody's only able to draft 3 teams into this tournament and they're all sticking to ADP, if I just, if I get a really big faller, even if I don't love that guy, just take him. You know what I mean? Or I get some unique combination, or I draft low-owned players at the end of the draft. It's like in this specific tournament, it's even more powerful to do so because everyone drafts the same way, plays the same way. It's the DFS thing, right? People play their cash team in single entry tournaments. It's like, no, buddy, you should do the opposite of that thing.
All right, we are on the clock. I mean, based on my ownership percentages, you can tell that AJ Brown's my preference here. But
yep,
is there anything you're looking at that you would prefer to do here?
Nah, AJ Brown, Bijan are definitely two kind of standouts for me. After them, I like to get into some funky, unique combinations sometimes, but I don't feel the need to do it just yet. And honestly, I don't have. I have my requisite amount of AJ Brown and Bijan Robinson, but I'm not like I'm probably maybe a tick underweight as opposed to like overweight or anything. And so I've actually been getting, Rob, we joke about this. I got so many 108s to start the draft season that I think the fantasy gods have started to reward me. Like I just keep getting like top 6 picks in all these
like
drafts. Like yeah, exactly. Like last night drafting against you where I get the 102 and get Jamar Chase where you have 1% Jamar Chase. I think I have like, dude, no joke. I think I have like 16% Jamar Chase on underdog. And that's like with like 12% Jefferson too. And like I'm overweight. So part of it is CMC. I'm underweight CMC, but I'm overweight all the superstar wide receivers. Like and so I just been getting those top picks, which feels like a goddamn blessing this year.
The anger that coursed through my body last night as that draft got entered, because we didn't plan to draft together. We just ended up in the same draft. And as I see the 102 spot and I see Beimfohr, I was like, you've got to be kidding me. This has happened twice and he gets the 102. Both times I'm sitting there like the 109 or some bullshit yet again. And I was literally angry. I was so mad to be completely honest.
I'm curious what you do here. I do, of course, like Nick Chubb, but I also am much more of a wide receiver guy. I love Garrett Wilson on DraftKings, but like, I'm open to Chubb if you prefer that too.
I'm open to Chubb, Wilson, or getting the stack with Hurts here.
I know it probably won't happen, but I would like to push it and see what this room is pretty sharp.
All right, let's grab Garrett Wilson.
Let's take Garrett Wilson, and
especially based on the room.
I don't suspect Hurts is going to fall all the way back, right?
Obviously. No, there's a 0% chance Hurts falls back to us here.
But talking about like this tournament and the uniqueness, all that kind of stuff, the teams that stack AJ Brown Hurts in this tournament are all going to be like what we just did. We just drafted AJ Brown at ADP, and we draft Hurts in the second round because he's never going to get back to you. But like the 2% chance that he does is like, well, now you have the only AJ Brown, Jalen Hurts stack with Garrett Wilson, right? And it's like, I know you're probably not going to get it, but I like to try those kinds of things. And again, especially in these tournaments where it's just a little bit different. In Best Ball Mania or in the DraftKings $10 milli, I'm just going to take second round Jalen Hurts with AJ Brown a certain percentage of the time because my goal is to have a certain percentage of like, I don't want to have 0 Jalen Hurts and 0. That's just me, but I don't want to have 0 of them. So I'm going to take them sometimes in the second round. But here it's like the whole point, obviously he goes in the second round, but the whole point is to try to create some team that is so crazy that no one in a 3-entry max tournament like can ever get, or almost no one can get. And so, because I'm not really worried about, you can only play 3 teams, I'm not worried about my exposures in this tournament. I'm just drafting the teams that I think can kind of exploit the field for that given tournament.
I also think that's why it'd be a good reason to take AJ Brown or a CeeDee Lamb or something and pair them with one of the other top quarterbacks like a Mahomes or a Lamar or something, because I think people are just going to be looking past that because they only have 3 bullets in these contests. So like if they don't get Brown with Jalen Hurts, their immediate reaction is, well, I need a wide receiver or a running back here. So if you want to talk about unique pairings, AJ Brown is probably the perfect example where you can go, okay, AJ Brown is always getting paired with Hurts here. And when they don't pair him with Hurts, they are bypassing the quarterback position completely. So getting a Brown, Mahomes, or something like that in the 3 max or single entry tournaments, I think is going to be more unique than the $10, because in the $10 you have people that are firing 150 bullets like myself that are just mixing all that together, right? Which just a hodgepodge of which guys you're drafting with which guys. But here it like tightens up what people are doing, so you can get some more unique combos a lot earlier in the draft than you can in other drafts.
Absolutely. That's what we see in DFS, right? All the time. They're not always apples to apples. Quite frankly, they're often apples to oranges, but there are some parallels when it comes to the specific type of contest. When you get to smaller fields, but also when you get to a 3-entry max or a single entry tournament, the ownerships on certain popular pairings and players are outsized in a DraftKings DFS tournament. That is, oh my God, JT is still on the board. So there's a question. What do we do with that, and what do you like here?
I kind of like Lamar here, to be honest.
Yeah, you ain't got to sell me on Lamar. You know I love Lamar.
I like to get my elite QBs on DK for various reasons. The Jonathan Taylor thing, dude, what is going on? Like, what do we
It's a mess.
What are we doing? Like, all of a sudden he has this back injury that nobody knew about, and he might not get paid for the entire season. like I don't think any of that comes to fruition, but there's a lot more outs, and it seems like this situation is all of a sudden way worse than the Jacob situation. So,
oh yeah, it's way worse than the Jacob. It's way worse than the Jacob situation.
Like, it's not
Jacobs hasn't requested a trade. He's unhappy, as he probably should be, but like he's just like he's basically saying I'm not coming to camp and working my ass off, with no money. And there are issues in season for Jacobs, I think, are the biggest ones. I assume he's going to report. I assume he's going to take his 10 mil or whatever it is. And because what else are you going to do? Like the running backs, it just is what it is. Most running backs would love to get the 10 million or whatever it is for a franchise tag. So I think Jacobs will report. I think the Jacobs issues are if the Raiders are not good, what happens to him down the stretch? Because I would not sign up to play. You're going to be banged up. That's just the life of an NFL running back, by week 8 or whatever. Would you show up in week 15, 16, 17 for a team that's 100% out of the playoffs? And, it might be Brian Hoyer or whoever at quarterback. Like, I wouldn't. And so that's the concern for him. The concern for JT is like, we have absolutely no idea what's about to happen. He could sit out. He could actually get traded, and he could get traded to somewhere that's not good for his fantasy outlook, where he's not a 2nd-round pick or a 3rd-round pick anymore. Now, the upside is all this is nonsense. So I'm not saying don't draft him. I'm actually saying you probably should target him when it makes sense. But I really would have loved Debo there.
Yeah, that's where we were going to go. What are your thoughts on Judy with the Tim Patrick news, just like kind of reassuring his role?
Really, yeah, I like that. Because it's definitely, if there was any concern with Judy before, which I don't think there was a ton, but it's definitely alleviated now. I also think what's nice is I think we pretty much knew he was going to be locked into the slot in 3 wide receiver sets, but I think this very much confirms that is now the thing, because Marvin Mims, not that Tim Patrick was going to play there anyway, but just the more bodies you introduce more variance in how things will play out. If you remove Tim Patrick, it's Marvin Mims is not a slot receiver, right? And frankly, neither is Cortland Sutton. So now you just have KJ Hamler. It's like, are they going to play KJ Hamler over Jerry Jeudy in the slot with Mims out wide? I don't think so. And so I think you've just like locked in as much as you can, locked in like Jerry Jeudy, like full routes, right? Playing in 2 wide sets, and then moving into the slot in 3 wide sets, which is really, really good. For anyone that didn't know, that's where Michael Thomas played with the Saints. And I think it's not some crazy big boost to Jerry Jeudy, but it's like a small, it's one of those like tiny little boosts that do happen during camp where no one's reacting to that one, right? No one's going to be like, oh yeah, boost Jeudy up a couple spots because of the Tim Patrick thing, but they actually probably should. Whereas we'll react to whatever, Desmond Ridder threw another incomplete pass. We're going to, react to that. So
Well, the freaking Broncos better be good, especially after Sean Payton went on, spouted off at the mouth, and started talking a ton of shit about last year's Broncos team, and now Aaron Rodgers wants to fight him in a parking lot. It's good times over there in Denver. But yeah, basically they better be good, or Sean Payton's going to look like a complete asshole. So now you can't trade Judy; you have to have the offense humming, and I think that actually like works out for Judy just slightly a bit. Like you said, not a huge upgrade, but it kind of reassures the role even more. And we have a little weird situation go here.
Oh, Lawrence, Burrow, Herbert in a row is interesting.
Yeah, that's pretty interesting. Okay, so Silas had taken Calvin Ridley.
Ridley, got it.
Okay, I just wanted to make sure that I was seeing all that properly.
So hold on. After we pick, but Felix says that Frosty was going for a full Charger stack, and apparently Zach here is Frosty, and he built out the full Charger stack, and somebody else took a Herbert.
Damn, ruthless. All right, what are we looking at here, Eric? What do you like?
Kittle for sure. I hate these running backs, to be totally honest with you.
All right, let's go Kittle.
Let's just take Kittle.
We'll take Kittle, and then we will have a discussion. Maybe we'll take Kittle. Who knows?
Yeah. Did Dobbins already go? I don't have his ADP memorized on. What is his ADP on DraftKings?
Oh, he's sliding. He's down.
Sweet Jesus, 78. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. Thanks for pointing it out, Eric.
Shit. Well, he goes like late 50s on Underdog, and so I was like, this is prime Dobbins range, and I actually like playing Dobbins with Lamar to make that big bet on the Ravens, and we know we have Bateman and Zay and a little lesser Odell in our back pocket, likely in the last round. There's just so many ways to load up Lamar. And I really like bringing Dobbins along for the ride, because if the whole offense is good, right? If Lamar is setting the world ablaze, like it sounds like it would be bad for Dobbins, and it would be probably like in week 17 or whatever. But over the course of the whole season, all these guys can just go absolutely nuts at these prices, I think.
Yeah. See Miles Sanders and Aaron Jones go after us. Someone takes Waller in the 5th. So he is definitely creeping up draft boards. Yep. Compared to, you used to be able to get him in like the 8th round, I think, a couple weeks ago, maybe a month ago or so, like late 7th, early 8th, but that was Underdog as well.
Just super quick, I want to answer James' question. He asked why we didn't draft Hurts with AJ Brown, and he joined late. We actually did talk about it. So whatever, 15 minutes ago or something like that. Just scroll back a little bit, and we talked exactly what you just kind of asked. Yeah, I like Akers. Akers, obviously, Dobbins. If we want Dobbins, I think we have to take him, because I don't think he's going to come back.
I don't think so either. I think we've ruined that. Do you want to take Akers, or
I would prefer to take Dobbins over Akers, actually.
Okay. We'll take Dobbins. I'm fine with it.
He's just a priority. Like, I understand he's not practicing, whatever. He is also, add him to the fucking list of all the running backs that are unhappy, right? He's unhappy with his contract. Like, are you a starting running back in the NFL who's competent? You're probably unhappy with your contract this offseason. So that's like a risk. But like, if people aren't worried about Jonathan Taylor in the 2nd or 3rd round, and like people are like, they never seen JT fall that far or whatever, I'm like, well, wait, have some, just wait, because I know he fell far just in this one, and it's very, early into the JT plummet, but you're gonna see him fall that far, especially on DraftKings, I think, plenty of the time. But like, if people are still gonna draft JT, there's a lot more JT issues than there are J.K. Dobbins issues, in my opinion. Like, hey, the Colts could just suck ass, which is like kind of important for a running back. Now, he's awesome. They're going to run the ball, and maybe Richardson is good for him, right? Obviously, rushing quarterbacks help the efficiency of the runner, blah, blah, blah. Maybe AR is good. I don't know. But like, we know the Ravens offense is going to be good. It's just like a fact. They need to stay healthy like every team does. But like we know Dobbins is good. We know that Todd Monken is an upgrade of an OC. And I mean, what more can you? Lamar, Andrews, Bateman, Zay, Odell, likely, like there's so much talent on this offense that we just know it's going to be good. I feel more comfortable, even though JT's sliding. Dobbins is sliding too. 78th overall. Are you fucking kidding me for J.K. Dobbins? Like I feel more comfortable, catching, if that is a falling knife, I feel comfortable catching the J.K. Dobbins one. I feel less comfortable catching the Jonathan Taylor one, actually.
Yeah, and to your point, the Ravens are good. Their floor is a good offense. The Colts' ceiling might be a good offense.
Right.
The Ravens' ceiling is greatness. The Colts don't have a greatness ceiling at all as an offense. They just don't. So that's the stuff you need to be looking at. David brings up a point from Sean Siegel. He said that Siegel also talked about his issue with drafting Diggs and A.J. Brown for the QB stacking reasons last week. If you reach for Allen Hurts, you miss out on a really nice player in the early second. So Siegel, much smarter person in the football space than I will ever be. Very smart guy. What I would say is, in DraftKings, hell, even on underdog somewhat, but specifically DraftKings, you're not reaching for Allen or Hurts. That is their price. You're not reaching. You are getting them at what their value is on that site. So, yes, you are missing out on good players around them, but the price is the price. It's the CD Lamb thing that we always talk about.
Mm-hmm.
You got to understand like what you're looking at there. So I would say that don't look at it as reaching. You're paying the price for these players. They're not going to drop. It's going to take like a lot of Jonathan Taylor situations for them to drop. You know what I mean? And actually that stuff brings them up. So it's like, what is going to make these players drop? There's nothing on DraftKings that's going to make them plummet. So you're paying
not with the running back shit. Not with the running back shit that's going on right now. If people have been thinking that quarterbacks are gonna drop over the course of the whole summer, this whole running back, the running back apocalypse is not helping the quarterback prices because right, it's not even. And I actually don't even love those three in particular. Those three. We're just talking shit on the Colts, and the Pittman price is not bad, but
I'm kind of in on Kamara here, to be completely honest with you.
I'm okay with it. I've started taking him a little bit more, so I'm actually okay with it. I don't love this price.
Do you like Dotson here?
I love Dotson.
Let's get Dotson, and the only reason why I say that is
we have Kittle.
I don't know if I like pairing Kamara with Dobbins on a team where you have some early week risk for both of them.
If Dobbins is a little slow and in a committee, which I mean, Gus is going to play, right? So that's like something. But if they ease Dobbins, like he's in my opinion, Dobbins' ceiling is such that he kind of takes over the backfield. Gus will always play, but you become like 80% as opposed to 54% or whatever. You know what I mean? I think week one, you are probably looking at like Dobbins, the same shit we used to see. Dobbins gets 13 carries and Gus gets 8 or whatever. But I think over the course of the season, Gus is fine. Dobbins is like a game changer as a running back. And I think you would be like, okay, now Dobbins is getting 22 carries and Gus is getting 5 or whatever. But as you said, I think the news today or yesterday or whatever was Kamara is basically trying to plead to Goodell, trying to get out in front, figure out what's going on with the suspension and get out in front of it. And so I do feel like something is coming. And to your point, like Kamara wouldn't do that if he didn't sense that something was going to happen, right? If he thought maybe he's going to get off scot-free, he would just stay fucking silent. It's like, don't tattle on yourself. You know what I mean? If no punishment is coming, don't go tell the police. And he clearly something is going to happen. And so I agree that pairing, it's kind of like Breece and Kamara or Javonte and Kamara. Like I agree with that general pairing is not amazing.
But I have been up on Kamara because I think the suspension is going to be a little bit less than. So I think you can make some really nice backfields when you're taking, I don't know. I like who'd I go earlier today? I had like Ramondre, someone else in between, and then Kamara. And it felt real, real good. It's like, man, because if Kamara comes on in week 5 or week 6 and we just start crushing with these wide receivers that I drafted, I just really like this team. So I think Kamara is going to go up draft boards. I think this week and next week is probably the last 2 weeks to be drafting him where he is.
He might go down and back up. You sometimes you get a little bit of that resistance as soon as he could get 2 games and okay.
It's Zay or Bateman here.
I would like to take Zay actually.
Okay.
I love Bateman. This is a little bit of me imposing my portfolio onto you, but I'm definitely more overweight Bateman.
Same.
But it's because he was going after, like, it's been the ADP around those guys has been weird. I also have been more comfortable with Bateman, but Zay was awesome in college, and he's kind of a guy that I think our general community doesn't like as much as I do. And not that means anything. I could be wrong and they could be right, but I just like to buy those guys sometimes where, sorry, dude, the amount of spam callers that are happening and they take over my AirPods every single time. But I like to buy some of the guys. So like Howell, right? Like the whole community was just like, Sam Howell, 5th round pick. What are you fucking talking about? I'm like, I thought he was like the best quarterback in that class. I thought he was really good. And so I like to buy those guys. Isaiah Pacheco, a big reason why I got onto Pacheco and got overweight Pacheco, got, at least reasonably invested in Pacheco last year was, I remember specifically talking about it with Pat, where he was like, what is the deal with this Pacheco stuff? It seems like bullshit training camp hype. And I was like, well, if you look at Rutgers, they were so bad. For him to even be as good as he was on that program was like really impressive. And so I'm like, I wouldn't write him off, basically, is what I think he's better than maybe we're giving him credit for. And, that certainly played out, and the Chiefs certainly love him and loved him. And so I think that Zay is kind of a guy that's that way. Jalen Hyatt is another guy that goes much, much later that I think is that way. And so I'm just trying to get more like even Bateman Flowers as opposed to I was like 2-1 Bateman to Flowers before.
I pretty much the same way. Mine is quarterback speak. If you listen to Lamar in the early, like a couple weeks ago, talking about Rashad Bateman, he just kept saying how he looks like a wide receiver 1. So, like, it just feels like Bateman is his guy. And I think I still want to be a little more overweight Bateman to Flowers, but I want it to even out a little bit more, to your point. And I'm grabbing more Lamar, so it's easier to do that because I'm making sure that I grab more of them. But even on my one-offs, it's like, flip a coin. You can get either of the ones you want at that spot. I've been grabbing a little bit more Zay Flowers just to kind of smooth that out a little bit.
I forget, there was also a Harbaugh quote, not a Lamar quote to your point. There was a Harbaugh quote that said something about Zay, that he said something like, yeah, like the reporters just like asked him a vague question about how's Zay looking or whatever. He was like, yeah, pretty good. Can't believe they let us get that guy in the first round, right? Or whatever. And it was just like, basically saying like this dude's special type of thing. So
anyone jumping out to you here?
Fuck. No. Penny. I'm just looking as you scroll. I mean,
Can we just do what I want to do real quick?
Of course.
I know it's a little bit of a reach here.
It's fine.
But let's just make sure we get A-Chain here.
Get the home run hitter bring back.
Yeah. I just think it makes sense for this team. We don't want to get sniped on them. I don't think we would, but I think A-Chain is going to start rising up draft boards for sure.
I do like Gibson on this team as well, if he were to happen to fall to it. Now that I'm thinking about it with Dotson and Kittle, I think Gibson makes sense as well.
I do like Gibson here as well. For me, I think A-Chain is just leaps and bounds, like path to a really good season. It's way better than Gibson's, and I know we want to play where they're getting drafted for now, but I think A-Chain is going to just start like screaming up draft boards in the next week or two. When Dalvin Cook eventually signs with another team, we finally get that noise out of the way. People are going to just start going right back to A-Chain.
Dude, the Dalvin Cook stuff is really funny. Like, we've reached the point of he's like all these other shit running backs, and everyone's treating him like, because his name, I know he has a big name. It feels like, once Dalvin Cook. I mean, I had to take the wife to the airport, and I'm listening to sports talk radio on the way back, and that's what they're like. wherever Dalvin Cook lands, if he lands with the Jets, is he the 1A or is Brees the 1A? I'm like, are you fucking high? Have you been watching Dalvin? Like, watch Brees last year and watch Dalvin Cook and tell me who the lead running back is. But like, people don't understand that Dalvin is like, he's fine, but like, he's just a guy really nowadays. And I think, A-Chain could be a total home run. The Dameon Pierce of last year, but on the Dolphins and not on the Texans.
All right, so Gibson does fall back to us here. We can grab Gibson now, lock up that second Washington player to go with our Kittle bring back. The only thing that I would float out there otherwise would be Aaron Rodgers. Not that I love Aaron Rodgers by any means, but we're just going to take Gibson, right? Before I stress out here.
Yeah.
The reason why I would have floated Aaron Rodgers.
Filibuster.
The reason I would have floated Rodgers is just because of the site we're drafting on. We're on DraftKings, and we do know that the quarterbacks go a lot earlier. You can get locked out. But I think with grabbing Gibson, it allows us to stay open to some backdoor stuff that we don't have to grab Aaron Rodgers at this point in time.
Agreed. We have a bunch of different options still available to us at quarterback. Obviously, Howell with Dotson and Gibson, Purdy with Kittle, and Russ with Jerry Jeudy. And then, of course, if we take, we're going to take more wide receivers. So anybody that we take could be, a backdoor stacking option type of a thing. So Rodgers' price is just brutal for me on DraftKings. I understand the 300-yard bonus is good for him, but man, 10th round for a guy who, is totally stationary, plays in the slowest offense. They're going to be run heavy. I know they're going to be good probably on offense, but Jesus, man, 10th round it feels steep.
It's sticker shock for all of these quarterbacks. If you just look at the board, if you're watching the stream, you can see like a bunch of red on the screen right now. And that is the big difference between the two sites is if you haven't drafted on DraftKings yet, you really need to be cognizant of getting locked out at quarterback. And that's part of the reason why I was like a little more adamant about getting Lamar earlier. It's because when the other quarterbacks are getting pushed up so much, to me, that makes the elite quarterbacks even more valuable because, I mean, it's just like standard math, right? Like I don't have to break that down.
If you got to fade a really good player to draft Jared fucking Goff, then it feels like Jalen Hurts is bad in the second round, but it's offset by the fact that, you didn't get Rashad Penny because you had to take Aaron Rodgers or Kirk Cousins or whatever. Like that feels worse. I would rather take Jalen Hurts.
Right. Jamison Williams, right? Look at all the quarterbacks that went before Jamison Williams, and
it's crazy.
It's bonkers, but this is what this site is, and you have to understand that's what the price is. He actually almost fell back to us here.
3 quarterbacks in a row there for
auto draft, though.
Yeah.
That's what happens when you auto draft.
Yep.
All right, so we are coming back on the clock here in 1 second. And
what do you think about these running backs versus there goes Russ, so it doesn't matter. I was just gonna say we have the Russ stack available to us. I like Herbert. I like
Herbert a lot.
I like Eli Mitchell. I like Rice. I'm totally down for Herbert right now. Pretty clearly, him and Foreman split, kind of as we expected, right? But him and Foreman splitting the lead running back duties in Chicago, and I just want those guys, man. The Bears are going to be a shitty version of the Falcons, like rushing offense. I know that sounds weird, but like Arthur Smith is 100% just going to design a really good, like, I know that Bijan, I don't care that Ritter sucks. I know that Bijan and Algier and those guys are going to be good on the ground. That's what Arthur Smith does. But the Bears feel like kind of similar to me. It's just that we don't know like exactly how it's going to shape up. And so Bijan goes in the first round, and I think he should. But the Bears running backs don't go. The first Bears running back doesn't go off the board till the 11th round. And we know that they're going to be efficient. And we know that Khalil Herbert's good. Like he's good at the game. It's just you're worried about volume. And so he was actually a guy who I was not drafting a shit ton of when we first started, in the summer in May or whatever. But I've been continuing to pick it up. And I also think he makes sense on a team like this where we need that running back upside. And he comes with a floor too. He's going to get the ball. He's going to play. That's not an issue.
Yeah, no, I like Herbert a lot. I am drafting all 3 backs, but Herbert is the guy that I want to be overweight on in Chicago. And it's not particularly close. Just because I'm drafting all three doesn't mean that I don't think Herbert is like the guy to have there.
I'm him and Foreman. I'm underweight Roshan, and I'm gonna be pretty overweight the other two.
I swear I'm getting fucking trolled in these drafts now. Like, do we want Rondell Moore here? Like, this is like the perfect pick for us at this spot. We need another wideout.
I'm fine. I really don't like Rondale this year, but I'm fine with it.
Hey, he's getting training camp buzz though. You haven't heard? They're finally using him the way he's supposed to be used, which is north and south.
I'm sure.
We'll see.
Yeah.
But he makes sense for our team. He's our 6th wide receiver.
He's better on DraftKings. What I will say is he's much better on DraftKings. I know new offense or whatever, but I mean he's 5'8", 190-pound slot receiver or whatever. He needs to rack up catches, and he has that path. He also has the path to being the backup slot receiver to Greg Dortch. Like I know that that would be a little bit crazy, but it's somewhat in the range. Give me 1 second, I'll be right back.
Sure. And another thing that we are going to need to be cognizant of as we are drafting is we do have an auto drafter here with the 7 spot. And after drafting Justin Fields, the auto draft also gave him Tua, Kirk Cousins, and Aaron Rodgers, which kind of messes the draft up. And we need to make sure that we're cognizant of that as all these other quarterbacks are flying off the board. So that's something to look at when we're getting back on the clock here. Right now, we have a 1-4-6-1 build. We drafted A.J. Brown, Garrett Wilson, Lamar Jackson, Jerry Jeudy, George Kittle, J.K. Dobbins, Jahan Dotson, Zay Flowers, Devon Achane, Antonio Gibson, Khalil Herbert, and Rondell Moore currently on our team. So I actually do like this team quite a bit as we are cruising through this draft in the 13th round right now. I'm not sure if you heard.
I liked your point about and you have to do this anytime. Whether there's an auto drafter or not, because like you said, the DraftKings quarterback prices are crazy and people get very fearful of losing out on quarterbacks. As another one goes, Matthew Stafford, it's kind of crazy, but just making sure we're keeping our finger on the trigger at quarterback and just keeping it's mainly Purdy, Howell, I guess Kyler now as well. Make sure we're keeping those guys at the top of our minds.
Anyone jumping out to you on the list here?
Don't want Foreman, obviously. I do really like Laporta. I really like Algier. We took Achane already. So Laporta or Algier, we could maybe see if I'm open. Either one of those guys. I think Laporta would be my guy.
Let's go with Laporta on this team. And we'll see what comes back to us.
Good ADP value, right? What was that? What he was ADP 145 or something, and we got him at pick.
I've seen him dropping in some drafts recently. I have noticed him falling. Him and weirdly, like the last 3 drafts I've been in, Derek Carr has fallen quite a bit.
Doesn't it feel like Carr, Pickett, Jordan Love, those kinds of guys have really wide range of outcomes. Sometimes they go at their ADP or before, like maybe the Olave guy, right? Senses the fear that we're talking about with quarterback and they take Carr. But then sometimes I'm like, Jesus, it's 3 rounds after ADP and Derek Carr's still on the board. And it's because the Saints guy maybe doesn't need a quarterback and nobody wants Derek Carr without having any Saints on your team. There's just a handful of those guys that have really, really wide range of like their ADP is not really a good indicator of where they're going to go in a draft because they go much earlier or they go much later in most drafts.
Yeah, David is asking a question about Rodgers in the chat that we will get to momentarily. We see Zeke go in the 14th round here, so that's fun.
Jesus Christ. Nothing like, you want to talk about high T, double tapping Taysom and Zeke at a turn. That's impressive. And Adam Thielen. Thielen before Alan Lazard. He did have Tony. He did draft Tony and Kyler, so that's not very.
I think we have to grab Howell now.
Yes, we have to. I was just going to say we have to.
The ADP does not matter at this point.
Nope.
We're in a spot where it's like he's the last quarterback. Who else was left? CJ Stroud. Maybe we could do something with Mac Jones or Tannehill if we really wanted to, but
yeah.
For our team, we need to make sure that we have Howell, I think.
Also, Lamar Howell's like my favorite quarterback pairing. It's like
I'm shocked for one.
I know anyone that knows me is certainly shocked by the fact that my highest owned quarterback pairing is Lamar and Howell. But it's your point. I actually think is like really, really important. And this happens on all sites. You have to be more cognizant of it on DraftKings, of course, because the quarterback stuff gets really crazy, and just the draft rooms can get a little bit crazy in general. But like, you have to read your room. That's like the whole ADP value thing is like, sure, if we screenshot this team right onto Twitter and people see like, oh, you reached on Sam Howell. That's haven't you read the data? That's bad to reach. It's like, sir, that's not a reach. He was the second best quarterback available left on the board. And look, Jimmy G just went in the fucking 14th round. Like, we were gonna get boxed out of quarterback if we did not take him. So none of that other stuff matters. You need to build the best team in the room that you are in. And I feel like that gets lost a lot of the times.
I agree. I think I really want to do a show with me and you talking about ADP value and stuff like that, because I think there's some lunacy going on in the space between everybody with it and like what it means to your team. And I think people just go way too freaking overboard with what ADP value is. And then I also think that people like preach ADP value and then they never explain what ADP value actually is.
Yeah.
And which
how much can I
matters.
Reach? Yeah. Right. How much can I reach? What does it am I allowed to reach 8 picks in the 15th round? Like, it seems like to me, you probably should be able to do that regardless. Like, I don't give a shit about the quarterback thing we were talking about. Like, you get to the 15th round, if the player you want to take is, we're drafting at the 1509. If the best player we like, if the player we like actually goes at the 1605, like, does that fucking matter? Like, no, that doesn't matter. But ADP value is a thing. It's important, but it's the why. I think what gets lost in a lot of fantasy and best ball takes is the why behind stuff. Well, people will do data-backed research and will say, well, the data says that. It's like, what's important is not just correlation, causation, all that causation matters, but like, it's why does ADP value matter? Not just like, is it important? Jerome Ford makes a lot of sense on this team, right?
Makes a ton of sense on this team
with Garrett Wilson.
That's who I was going to float out there.
I love it. And they play the Bears in week 15. I actually didn't know that one. I'm starting to learn the week 15 and 16 schedules at the top of the dome, which is fucking terrifying. But yeah, it's and look, we got Jets Commanders in week 16. We're ready to roll for the playoffs.
We got Miami, Baltimore, San Fran, Washington, Arizona, Philly, and Jets Cleveland right now.
That is beautiful.
Yeah, it's looking pretty good.
I love that playoff feature, by the way. Shout out Hacker. Like, we need to tell him that he's amazing at what he does anymore. But like the team stack and the playoff stack thing that you see there on the right side of your screen is like, it's the thing I use the most. I use that and the player combination exposure things that we have within the Hacker, where I can see with the first quarterback that I select, what are my exposures with my first round pick, with my second round pick, those kinds of things. It's like the easiest way to build the portfolio I want. And I don't have to think ever. I don't have to research anything. I don't have to think about anything. Like, the playoff correlation shows up for me on there, and I can massage I get to the late 4th round. I have 0 Mike Williams on this Lamar team, and I have 1,000,000,000% of another player on on Lamar teams or whatever. It's so nice to be able to see.
It is some of the best features there is. I have 48 Best Ball Mania teams left to draft, and just some of the stuff on the tools, I want to try to get the majority of them done on desktop, because I'll tell you in 1 second, but I found a combination today of 2 guys that I was drafting heavily that I just didn't have together. It blew my mind.
Yep. I know we have the Howell stack, but I think Alec Pierce is like light years better than Curtis Samuel. And I think he's definitely a big ADP value, but I think that this price on DraftKings is horrible. Even if we don't like the Colts, pick 184. They don't have to be good for Alec Pierce to be good for your best ball team.
So I've been drafting a bit more Eckler in the past couple of weeks. I'm not trying to go like super overweight on him, but I am trying to do a lot more stuff with the Chargers and with Eckler and I think, it's not a mistake I want to make 2 years in a row where I don't have enough Austin Eckler.
Yeah.
So I've been grabbing Eckler. So I might have like 9 or 10% of him or somewhere in that wheelhouse on underdog. And
You got
as I was
10%
doing,
Eckler? You must have been drafting him. Well, you're drafting at the back so much, I guess it does make sense.
yeah, well,
You have
that's the
10%
problem.
Eckler because you have 1% Jamar Chase.
Yeah, it's not great. But I have like 20%, we'll say Devonta Smith. It might be a little lower than that, but it's somewhere in that wheelhouse. And I had no Austin Eckler, Devonta Smith teams. So
0.
I had 0 until today when I saw it. And so I grabbed Devonta Smith over Chris Olave because I was like, I just don't have this combination yet. And I want to make sure that I have this combo of players. But I did it with Pollard. I think I brought it up on a stream earlier. So using it not just for like all that other stuff, but to see your combination of players of teams you don't have is, to me, like mind blowing sometimes.
The combination stuff is killer for me because I do draft. So like I mentioned that Lamar being, Lamar Howell, like being kind of one of my favorite combinations, right? And then you also get, in particular, in the 4th, 5th round, I draft like almost all those dudes, like all those wide receivers that go in that 4th, 5th round. Like I draft them all, but you'll find once you get to that, let's call it late 4th, right? Let's say, I think yesterday in the draft that we did, I took Chase, and then I actually did the Andrews Lamar thing at the 2-3 turn with Jamar Chase. So then I get to the late 4th, right? The 4-11, and there's a bunch of wide receivers on the board, but for whatever reason, I have a bunch of DJ Moore with those guys, and I have no Mike Williams with those guys. And it's like, do I like DJ Moore a little bit more? Sure. But I can quickly see, like, just take Mike Williams. There's no reason you should have 0 Mike Williams with these guys.
We're 2.572 right now. We're looking at like Ty Chandler, Kareem Hunt.
I'm okay with Chandler, but I'm not like in love with him. We do need a couple running backs, though.
We do need.
Let's take Chandler. Let's take Ty Chandler.
Let's take Ty Chandler, and then I have an idea for the.
I also have an idea of what we really should do for our 7th running back.
Oh, for our 7th running back. There's a tease.
Somebody's going to take him. Somebody's going to. People keep sniping me on underdog with this guy. This is my new Darrington. Get ready. He's going to fail. He's going to fail spectacularly.
Shout out to the guy that got Mac Jones in the 17th after this gigantic quarter.
Yeah, Jimmy Garoppolo went in the 14th, and this guy got. Like, God damn it!
Kudos to that guy.
Yeah, seriously, that's nice. Russ Pickett with Mac, and that's a good team. Good Tajay. I mean, Higbee and Knox is a pretty uninspiring. I guess you took Tyler Higbee in the 12th, so how much credit can we really give you for getting value on Mac Jones? But that's a good team. Look at that. Anchor, Eckler with some good wide receivers. I like it.
Yeah. Oh, so let me float this idea by you while we're waiting for our next pick. I was talking about this on the Sunday show, I believe. You talk about those like 4th, 5th round wide receivers, and there's 3 that I love in that range, right? Like I'm a big McLaurin, Drake London, and DJ Moore guy.
Me too.
And I've been thinking about this, and it's like, I love all 3 of those players. I'm drafting them at a high clip. And I understand, like, we're talking about ADP value, and this is going to be like a huge reach. But I want to get all 3 on one team.
Yeah, I have 0 of all 3 of them. I have a ton of 2 of them, or a decent amount of 2 of them. But yeah, I guess you would have to pull probably McLaurin up. Can we take Evan Hall, please?
You want to take Hall right now?
Yes, he's gonna go. This is all of our friends here. Silas is in this draft. I know Silas is gonna take Evan Hall. He is now a Hall stan, just like me. He is also, a running back fader like us. I guess he has ripped off a bunch of running backs here, but we took Evan Hall. We haven't recorded the very last video of our DraftKings $555 draft, but I talked him into
spoilers.
See, 100%. Silas is going to take our boy Evan Hall at the turn. But like, I'm almost mad Zach Moss broke his arm. I mean, I'm mad anybody gets hurt. I wasn't rooting for Zach Moss to break his arm, but like Evan Hull's been a guy that I've been drafting. Literally, I've been drafting to get overweight Evan Hull. Like certain guys, I'm trying to get over Zay, right? I'm trying to take a lot of Zay. I'm trying to take a lot of Evan Hull. I'm trying to take a lot of XYZ guy before they shoot up. And then like Zach Moss didn't matter to Evan Hull, in my opinion, as a bet. But the moment Zach Moss breaks his arm, people are like, there's a rookie option here who then they're Twitter searching Evan Hull. I'm like, motherfucker, like last week we knew Evan Hull was running with the ones. It didn't really matter, but now he's getting drafted. Today I did a couple of drafts and people sniped him in the 17th on Underdog from me. I didn't get him. I'm literally drafting to get this ass clown, and people are taking him from me in the 17th round. So I just think I knew Silas was probably going to take him, but he's also a guy that this is like a 25,000 people in this tournament or something like that, and it's probably like a third full already. He's probably undrafted in the majority of those, so you're getting a air quotes low owned player. Like the max he can be owned is probably like 65% or something like that, which is just kind of nice as well. So to that, whether we took him in the 19th or 20th or the 18th, I don't really think it matters.
Doesn't matter at that point, especially when he was undrafted. Like even if he was drafted in the 20th, I just don't think there's a huge difference between taking him in the 18th or the 20th when he starts creeping up to the 14th or stuff like that.
Like Darrington, like Darrington Evans did.
Yeah. Like that Pacheco rise from last year.
Yeah. Damian Pierce from the 18th to the 8th.
Yeah. God, what did he end at? Like
the 5th fucking round.
Yeah, like the 5th
higher than he's going now.
Yeah.
Okay. What are 2,772 right now? So we got
we could use another tight end. We could do anything with the running back or wide receiver position.
I like Trey McBride. We took Rondale. I think it's kind of a fun, cheap way to bet on them and that offense. Obviously, he gives us 2 bringbacks to AJ Brown in week 17. But it's also like, look, the Cardinals are probably going to suck really bad, but Rondale, McBride are the kinds of guys who can still be really good for fantasy at their prices, even if they suck, right?
And they're not coming off the field. Like the guys we were talking about
like
earlier.
Connor, Hollywood, those are real concerns down the stretch. But like McBride and Rondale, you're not concerned for them. It's probably a good thing. They're just going to get more targets.
Right. And that's part of my problem with a lot of the Raiders right now is like these guys are going to probably come off the field at the end of the year. Most likely. We'll see. But those are little things that, do I weigh them? Somewhat. Depends on the situation. When it's a first round pick for sure. I just can't take Devontae Adams right now, just personally. But if you do, you do.
On him, are you going to take any of him in with the thought that he might get traded?
Devontae?
Yeah.
So
I think I'm going to do that.
I was thinking about that.
Right. We can get a good price on it.
I just don't think they're going to trade him. I don't know. I feel like teams are starting to get stubborn right now. I know it's more so on the running back front, but what are you going to get for Devontae Adams?
You're selling him for pennies on the dollar, probably. Yeah.
Right. So it's like, are they even going to do that? When's his contract end? Next year? Probably.
Yeah, I would have to look it up.
I do too, but there might be an out after this year. I'd have to look into all of that, to be completely honest.
It makes $1 zillion, I think.
Right.
No. And it's not that bad. I mean, 20 million, but it's not that bad
But no one's going to want to take that $20 million deal right now.
It's also not an easy time to be able to bring in $20 million, right? We just saw Rodgers restructure, which was kind of what spurred some of that. They can get out. It's a lot of fucking dead cap, though, in 2 years. He is signed through 2026.
Devontae Adams is?
Yeah. They can get out after 2024, but it's $15 million in dead money.
Why am I seeing a free agent in 2023? What is this?
This is what I was going to toss a Bears wide receiver out.
Yeah.
Tyler Scott or Claypool. I don't know if Claypool's around. Me and Tyler Scott, but this is another guy that I'll also for this tournament I really like. Undrafted. Nobody's drafting fucking Tyler Scott in this, right? he has a 287 ADP. And so you're getting this, when you get to the 20th round, you can tell yourself, obviously I'm the guy telling the story about Tyler Scott. I am excited for him. He is, like you said, talk about confirming your priors. I was excited for him, and he's lighting up camp, right? He's catching a bunch of deep balls. And so trying not to really worry about that too much. But last round pick, let's steer away from the ADP thing. Let's get a guy who's 5%, 10% drafted in this tournament, because we talked about at the top, everything that how many benefits there are to that kind of uniqueness in a 3-entry max tournament with kind of tough advancements, but a really, like, if you get Tyler Scott through to week 17, you are 100% going to be the only Tyler Scott team in week 17 with 30 people there and him being drafted like 10% of the time.
I'm going to recap our team in a second, but I want to give you some flowers real quick. That's not something I normally do with you, but got to give you some props, because over the last like 2 months, I still check in on other content and listen to what people are saying about stuff and everything. And I've heard on multiple shows, people are bringing up Travis Etienne, and they're starting to talk about, like, he's not the pass catcher we thought he was. It's this. I'm like, motherfuckers, Erik has been saying this for 2 years now, that Travis Etienne is not a pass catcher. And it just kind of made me chuckle a little bit hearing it on more than one show where they're starting to get that news out there. And it's like, we've known this for 2 years. I don't know. I just wanted to give you some flowers for that, because it helped like mold my perception on what Travis Etienne is as a player over the past 2 years. And I think it's saved me some money personally. So kudos to you for being on top of that.
Well, that's good. We could save you a few bucks there, because we definitely pissed away a bunch of other money on some other guys. But I do think, hey, I appreciate that. But, it's one of those things that I kind of preach about a lot, but where you can't have an edge on every single player. Like, we're not NFL scouts. And guess what? NFL scouts don't know every single goddamn player in the league like the back of their hand or whatever. But I think me and you for sure, coming from kind of the DFS background, and I play like college football DFS is probably one of my, like, I enjoy it more than NFL DFS, to be frank. Like, there's just, you can't win as much, I can't win $1 million playing college football DFS, but I'm really active in that whole space. And so you pick up on certain things, right? Why do I like Sam Howell so much? It's because I've been playing him, and I played him in college football DFS for like 4 straight years and watched a ton of him. And I'm never going to pretend to be a scout. I never watched Trey Lance, right? Why did I like Trey Lance? Is because I'm like, he seems like the right archetype, but I wasn't grinding North Dakota State film. Like, sorry to tell you, right? Like, it just, I didn't know. And frankly, he probably sucks. I think it's actually probably a reasonable thing to say that Trey Lance probably sucks. But I've seen a lot of Travis Etienne. I mean, when Etienne was at Clemson, right, they were one of the best teams in the country every single year with him and Lawrence and Justin Ross and T. Higgins and those guys. And like, I've told that story before. I literally listened to an interview with Travis Etienne where he said, I'm not a good like natural receiver. He's like, I don't have good hands. It's not natural for me. He's like, if you go look at my high school stats, go look at my first few years at Clemson. He's like, I never really caught passes because I'm not good at it. I'm not a natural receiver. I have bad hands. He said, but I know that I'm trying to make it to the NFL. So the summer before his last year, senior year or whatever, he's like, I lived on the jugs machine, because I knew that I had to be able to catch passes. And Dabo Swinney made it a point to be like, we're going to throw him some checkdowns because we know that he needs that in his profile heading into the NFL if he wants to be a high pick. And that fooled everyone in the fantasy space. Yeah. Like, he caught a bunch of checkdowns and they're like, oh my God, he's Alvin Kamara. And I'm like, buddy, like, this ain't Alvin Kamara. This dude is fucking Adrian Peterson. He got bricks for hands, but they just so happen to be like, we want to, Dabo's trying to reward the dude, get him. Right. And it worked. He went in the first round. Right. But like, he's Alvin Kamara is one of the smoothest receivers we've ever seen at the running back position. Travis Etienne is the polar opposite of that. And people were making that comp. Right. People were legit making that comp. And so it's just little things, right? Like I get a million things wrong, but like Darrington Evans, great example. I know he failed spectacularly, and that's kind of probably better for the bit, but like we can we grind these things, and you're like, Derrick Henry is going in the middle of the first round, and his backup is not drafted. And Darrington Evans was a 3rd round pick, right? That's like Kendre Miller. That's like the type of, he was a reasonably high pick. It's like, we can find these things out really quickly. And the market just is not that sharp all across the board. The market is good on certain things, but they miss a lot. And we can grind those micro edges. And so, like I said, get tons of things wrong. Shout out Trey Lance and Kyle Pitts and all these other losers. But like, you can find these little things where you can absolutely, like Evan Hull. Like, why have I been doing this? Because I think he's an edge. I think Sam Howell is an edge. I thought Darrington Evans was an edge, and we can grind some of those. And I think that's probably what we're best at around here. Shout out to the folks in the Discord. They're helping me as well, right? Go check the Jalen Hyatt. If there's a Jalen Hyatt tweet, it gets posted in the Discord because everybody is on board with the why is Jalen Hyatt going so late or whatever. But I think just as a community, that's probably where we strive the most, is kind of in grinding those little micro player edges.
And shout out to me for knowing when to listen to you and when not to listen to you.
That is definitely true. That is definitely true.
So let's run through this team and then we'll get out of here. We went AJ Brown, Garrett Wilson, Lamar Jackson, Jerry Jeudy, George Kittle, J.K. Dobbins, Jahan Dotson, Zay Flowers, Devon Achane, Antonio Gibson, Khalil Herbert, Rondell Moore, Sam Laporta, Sam Howell, Jerome Ford, Alec Pierce, Tyson Chandler, Evan Hull, Trey McBride, Tyler Scott. Got a bunch of correlation here. If we look, we have a Miami-Baltimore set up. We have San Francisco-Washington set up, Arizona-Philly, the Jets, and Cleveland. There was a bunch more weeks 15 and 16 stuff that we had going on as well.
And team stacks, right? Pierce and Hull. And this is a fun team, man. This is a really fun team.
Yeah, fun team. And as we pointed out, we had to grab Sam Howell on the 14th because of a quarterback run that just went bonkers. But then you see CJ Stroud in the 18th round, which is crazy. I don't know. So we did what we had to do when we had to do it. It's just some rooms can get a little weird is what we can say.
A lot of these people that were in this draft were listening because they were like, look, these ass clowns think that they're going to, they're preaching this great lesson about you got to read your room and take quarterback. We're going to show them, and we're going to push every quarterback after Howell down 4 more rounds.
Yeah. But I think that's going to do it for us. We will be back tomorrow night, knocking out another show. I don't know. Maybe we'll talk about ADP tomorrow night.
Yeah.
All right. Let's do it. We'll talk to you. Boost. Woo! Those were some spicy takes. Want to stay up to date with all of the other spicy takes we're going to have over here at Spike Week? Why don't you press that subscribe button below? You turn notifications on, we draft a team, boom, you know about it. We have another spicy take, boom, you know about it. You can be there. You can draft with us. You want to stay up to date? That's how you do it. All right, we'll catch you later next time here at Spike Week.